Despite the fact that it's aluminum. Bill, doesn't this weigh like 7,000? Bill, doesn't this weigh like 7,000 pounds? 6,800 pounds, which is just incredible. This car in 1914 was over $9,000. I mean, bear in mind, a Model T in 1914 was about 700 bucks, maybe something like that. 695 bucks, something like that. So this car was clearly built for the wealthy. Locomobile geared its market towards the very, very upper end of the wealthy market. Many of the unusual things about this car, first and foremost, it has an onboard air pump, so tires were not very reliable in 1914. This car has that. You'll notice the body of the car has many curves. That was very, very unusual in 1914. They were hammered out over a wooden buck, the aluminum panels, and given those very unusual compound curves. In both outside and inside the car, you'll see the nickel-plated lights in the car. They are signed Lewis Comfort Tiffany. They're actual Tiffany lights that are in the car. When Bill redid the car, he had the cording around the doors, remanufactured. He has the lap robe, an umbrella, a parasol, which was shown in the advertisement for the car at the time. It is just a stunning, stunning automobile, and a very, very unusual piece of American automobile history that we're grateful to have here today. And Bill, thank you so much. Bill's been a very dear friend to me for many, many years, and I'm thrilled to be able to talk about him and about his car. Congratulations, Bill. He has a clutch problem that developed sometime earlier today with the car. Again, we'll see how weak these guys are pushing 7,000 pounds. Again, a big round of applause for Bill, if you would, please. Our next car is in the Camaro Firebird category. This is in the 1967, I should say, to 1981 Camaro Firebird category. This is Mark Hassett of Ashtabula, Ohio, with a 1969 Chevy Camaro Copo ZL1. Copo means Central Office Production Order. If you were a big deal Chevrolet dealer at the time, many of you heard of Baldwin Motion or Yanko Chevrolet. These guys had special contacts. They were volume Chevrolet dealers. They had contacts at the top of General Motors, and they were able to order cars that you and I could not order. For example, the biggest motor you could get in a Camaro was a 396 big block. These guys were able to order 427s. This particular car is an option code ZL1, which was essentially a limited production Corvette engine. There were about 50 Camaros, if I'm not mistaken, that were ordered with this engine. The dealer who took order of them ordered 50 of them, and when he found out the engine option was 4,200 bucks, not the car, the engine option was $4,200, he panicked and didn't take all the cars. The balance went to Sutton Chevrolet in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. This is one of those cars. This car has 8,000 original miles. That would be what we would call perhaps the holy grail of Camaros. I also love the name of that color. It's called Fathom Green, which is, you just have this sense of looking into the ocean, the depths of the ocean. Such a cool name for a color, but a very, very rare automobile, incredibly cool. Congratulations. The next award has some special meaning to me, and I'll explain in a moment. This is the pre-1980 professional vehicle category. This is a 1941 Lincoln Zephyr V12 ambulance owned by the Antique Automobile Club of America Museum in Hershey, Pennsylvania, with my good buddy Don Stabilito and Gary at the wheel. I say good buddy because I sit on the board of the Antique Automobile Club of America Museum. So this gives me an opportunity to plug the museum, as well as very proud to know that this vehicle is here and a winner. This is an oddball vehicle. This came to the museum from MBNA, the bank, who at one point in time had a huge automobile collection. This is a Zephyr, which was the, so to speak, the low-line Lincoln. It was named after the train on the Burlington Railroad that was all the rage in the mid-late 30s for streamlining. Lincoln used that name. They introduced a low-price V12 which was based off the Ford Flathead V8. This particular car has that V12 engine in it. It is the only one that we know to exist of this particular vehicle. Lincolns were not the vehicle of choice, so to speak, at the time for ambulances. Of course, Cadillac and Packard would have been the preeminent choice at that time. So it's an incredibly rare and unusual vehicle. And if you would like to see it in person and be able to study it more, along with about 200 cars in our permanent collection, we'd be happy to entertain you in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where the AACA Museum is. Don and Gary, thank you so much for bringing it up here. We have 200 wonderful volunteers at the museum, of which these guys are just a part of that, and helping preserve America's automobile history. Guys, take care of that trophy on the way home. Thanks. Okay. I might not repeat that, Don. Okay. I might also say that's one of the best sounding V12s I've heard in a long time. That really sounds nice. See, Wayne told me something I didn't know. It has an Edmunds intake manifold on it, which to give it the more horsepower because of it being an ambulance and the bigger vehicle. Now, back to the Rivieras. 1963 to 1973. This is Al Schmidt from Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, the owner of a 1970 Buick Riviera. This is an especially interesting car to me from several perspectives. First of all, it's triple black. Any of you out there who have ever restored a car know that it is the most horrific color to paint on the planet, because every sin and every dimple and every crack or every little imperfection on the body shows. So the restoration effort on this car is just over the top. This is the last year of the second generation of the Riviera. The first year was 63 to 65. The second generation design, which debuted in 1966, also a Bill Mitchell design with the fastback roof, lasted until 1970. The third generation cars, which you see over here, which was really 1971 to 74, were the boat tail cars. The 74, the boat tail, however, was removed at the decree of General Motors executives to give the car more trunk space. But this is a stunning, stunning example of a 70 Riviera. You rarely ever see the 70s restored. It typically is the earlier cars that you see, so it's especially nice to see this. Just an incredible automobile in triple black. Very unforgiving, as I mentioned, just great car. Congratulations on your award. You should be very proud of that award. That was a tough class you had. Sorry, I have stones in my shoes somehow there. Okay, next category. In the vintage truck category, why is that so quiet? Well, first of all, it's electric. This is a 1919 Walker LA10 stand and drive truck owned by Jay Christ of York, Pennsylvania. Jay's collection defies description. Jay collects, restores and collects stand-up delivery vans, Divcos, all kinds of really, really interesting and cool vans. He has a Stutz package car, some very, very interesting and unusual vehicles. This particular car or truck was used in Chicago as a milk delivery vehicle, has a top speed of about 15 miles per hour. It's called stand and drive, much like the Divcos that you've seen. You actually stood to drive the vehicle. It was all operated by your right foot or by hand controls. Obviously, a vehicle like this worked with electricity because it was just a short delivery or a short hop vehicle. Electric cars in 1919, I'm sorry. You know how far we have come in technology relative to automobiles, with the exception of electric cars. In 1919, the range of an electric vehicle was not that much worse than it is today. The difference is today they go like the Dickens. Electric vehicles in 1919 were not exactly speedy. I think the other thing that's so interesting about this vehicle is I love the design and the paintwork on the vehicle. It is just absolutely stunning. Jake, congratulations. Always enjoy seeing your vehicles. Really, really cool.